Hello and welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Gwen Jacobsen and I'm one of many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 17, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying our NACTV experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at nactv@wcgwave.ca. This week's edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press is dated Friday, July 28th, 2023. On the front page, we have a variety of beautiful pictures. It's titled An Art-Filled Day in Neepawa. Neepawa was swept up in the arts on Saturday, July 22nd, with the annual Riverbend Arts Forward Farmery Tours, or RAFT event. All were welcome to come to Arts Forward that day and see a variety of artists at work, enjoy live music and more. As part of the RAFT, a series of benches were also painted by local artists to art bomb the town. These can and will soon be found at Bruise Brothers Bistro, BMO, It's Time, Hidden Hollow, Red Apple, and Salvation Army. Here we have a picture of Shannon Desjardins and helper Zoe. They were in the zone while painting a bench for Bruise Brothers Bistro, right here. And here we have Touchwood artists, Touchwood Park artists hard at work. Here a needle felt creation by Donna Freeman. And a close-up of Rain Pryor's work in progress, embroidery. And here we have Clement Villamere Jr. carefully considering his canvas. And some more pictures. Phil Can, Neepawa, donates over $2,000 to Roxy Theatre. Representatives of the Filipino Canadians of Neepawa and area, known as Phil Can Neepawa, met with Roxy Theatre board members Kate Jackman Atkinson and Jeff Braun on the evening of July 24th for a grand surprise. Phil Can Neepawa, which is involved with Neepawa's Filipino Heritage Committee, presented a check of $2,600 to the theatre to be used as the board sees fit. These funds are a portion of those that were raised during the 2023 Filipino Heritage Month celebration as a way to give back to the community for the warm reception it's received throughout the years. So here we have Jeff and Kate. Phil Can Neepawa representatives were Leanne Cypress-Zipik, Ma Cynthia Garcia, and Larnie Santos. And here we have a picture. Garden View Farm is a flower wonderland. Located just south of Breaker 16 on Highway 16 East at Neepawa, Garden View Farm is a wonderland of flowers, trees, plants, and a stunning view of Lake Irwin. Operated by Glenda and Joe McPhee, Garden View is a full-fledged flower farm where people can come out and you pick their own bouquets or can be part of a bouquet subscription service. Visitors are welcome, but perhaps it would be best to check out their Facebook site and phone ahead. Pictured here is Betty McLaren and Christine Waddell while on a Sunday afternoon tour last week. Now, this one says, not every bike belongs at the bike park. Neepawa warns against quads and dirt bikes usage at High Life Back 40 by Owen Devereaux. The town of Neepawa will be keeping an eye out for unwanted guests along its walking and cycling trails. Manager of Operations Denise Akwe recently updated council on a growing concern: the use of quads and dirt bikes at the Park Lake construction site and High Life Back 40 multi-use trail park. Sakwe said those areas are 100% off limits for those type of vehicles. He said, we're seeing dirt bikes and quads drive into those areas. They are off limits, especially the bike park. We don't want to see any quads or dirt bikes running around there as they can do substantial damage. As well, it is a nuisance for people walking around the bike park or cyclists using the area for what it is intended for. Sagwe also added that Park Lake is an active construction site, so there are concerns of motorized vehicles as well as people walking through that area. The town is asking all residents to stay off that portion of the land completely. The Roxy Theatre coming up August 2nd and 3rd. Showtime 7:30 p.m. It's a movie entitled Elemental. This animated film follows Ember and Wade in a city where fire, water, land, and air residents live together, classified as general. Then August the 9th and 10th, also showing at 7:30 p.m., is a movie called No Hard Feelings. Helen Drysdale, out of Helen's Kitchen. This week, her article is entitled The Summer Kitchen. At one time, when there was no electricity for fans or air conditioning, and cooking was done on a wood-burning stove which radiated intense heat, many homes had summer kitchens. Keeping the heat and the risk of fire out of the main house made good sense and made sleeping a lot more comfortable. A summer kitchen was a small outdoor building located next to the back of a house, built to prepare, cook, bake, preserve, and pickle in the hot summer months. Summer kitchens usually had large screened windows on both sides to allow any breezes to come through them. They were common on the prairie farms, where the housewife would spend weeks putting up the harvest from the huge gardens they grew to feed their families during the winter. If they did not have an extra stove for the summer house, people would disassemble their wood cook stove and move it into the summer kitchen when the weather got hot. A large barrel of water was hauled for washing vegetables and dishes. It was an important part of the living space for many homes and a center of activity. Often the cream separator was moved to the summer kitchen as well as the butter churn. The summer kitchen helped keep the food smells out of the main house, thus helped keep the flies out as well. This recipe is a great way to use up those extra tomatoes from the garden. You can heat process or can this recipe or just freeze in freezer-safe containers. If freezing, thaw before using and prepare the same way you would if it were canned. Do not skip the lemon juice, citric acid when canning the jars. This is there for your safety. And this week's recipe is homemade tomato soup. All right, food options aplenty in Neepawa by Casper Werhan. Visitors to select Neepawa businesses can dine to win next week. From July 31st to August the 14th, the Neepawa Chamber of Commerce has partnered with local restaurants to host its third annual Summer Restaurant Showcase. The event originally started during COVID-19 as a way to advertise that restaurants within Neepawa were still available to do takeout. Now, however, it's evolved into an event to showcase what Neepawa has to offer. It's a chance for us to advertise and tell people, hey, you don't have to go far to get a great meal, said Jennifer Weeb, Neepawa Chamber of Commerce Office Administrator. She said, you can get something to eat in Neepawa. Baked goods, bubble tea. You don't have to drive a half an hour to get something. It's also a great way to showcase these options to travelers. We've added, it's really grown over the years. We started out with 3 restaurants during COVID-19, and now we've grown to 11 restaurants and food trucks. The 11 participating businesses are Chicken Chef, Roder's Bakery, Prairie Donaire, Dairy Queen, Lola's Bakery, Boston Pizza, Neepawa Golf and Country Club, Emotions and Tea, Farmery Brewery, and Tim Hortons. People are encouraged to visit these locations during the showcase period to enter their name in a draw to win $100 in chamber bucks. Tim Hortons is a new participant for this year as a host for the ballot box. However, it is to be noted that chamber bucks cannot be redeemed there at this time. The chamber bucks can also be spent with any business that is a chamber member, though it is hoped they will be spent with the participating restaurants and food trucks in keeping with the theme of the event. Reflecting further over the response the Summer Restaurant Showcase has received, Weeb told the Banner Press that ballot submissions have also seen an increase. The number of ballots that have been entered over the years has been great. Last year we had a huge bin full. Although we didn't do a count, there were definitely hundreds. So it's really been growing. I think it's successful, said Weeb. We have a summer student developing our online marketing campaign for the event too, and it's been catching people's eyes. Weeb hopes the event continues to grow in support and participation, allowing it to further evolve in the future. Sharing a final comment, Weeb stated, "Get out there, eat local, shop local. Everybody could use $100 in these economically tight times to go out and have a fun supper. And to keep the funds in Neepawa is great too." Rural Outlook page. This article says, Prairie history comes alive at Fort Lorraine. The Fort Lorraine Museum covers central Manitoba history from fur trader days to modern farming. The museum is well worth the visit, as a few hours wandering the grounds and going into the many buildings will give any visitor a deeper understanding of how Manitoba has changed and developed. And here we have a picture of an extended family last Saturday that were having a reunion with family members from Austin, Manitoba and Maryland, USA. They explored many of the houses and buildings which display artifacts from prehistoric days up to the 1950s. And here here's another picture. It is a moving experience to just sit and absorb the peacefulness and imagery within the church walls. St. Nicholas Ukrainian Orthodox Church, Ukrainian Heritage Church, was built in Vita in 1914 by master builder Anton Prichin, who designed many of the Manitoba Ukrainian churches. After a fire, the church was rebuilt in 1939. The church was later moved to the Fort Lorraine Museum in Portage la Prairie in 2002. All right. Now we're going to talk about Town Council by Owen Devereaux. The newest business being built in Neepawa has received the go-ahead for a much-needed height variation. Town Council gave approval on Tuesday, July 18th to the developers of the Best Western Plus Hotel. The group had asked for a variance to the local bylaw in order to accommodate their plans for a 4-story building. The request was approved and will raise the commercial highway zone height limit from 36 feet to 58 feet 2 inches. There were no concerns or objections against the request brought forward from the public, clearing the way for the council support. A similar type of height variation request was made and approved last month for the construction of the town's new $127 million healthcare facility. Next are the councillor reports. Councillors for the town of Neepawa provided updates of meetings, activities, and other functions they attended over the past few weeks during the July 18th council meeting. First, Councillor Jason Nadeau informed fellow councillors of a recent meeting he participated in with Westlake Employment Services. He noted an increase of clients using the job service and the decision by Westlake to start scheduling appointments for those individuals as opposed to walk-ins. In regard to the Western Manitoba Regional Library Board, Nadeau reported that they are currently looking at the community agreements that are in place, as the funding model from the province is in the process of changing. Specifically for the Neepawa Library, there will be a new community board installed outside the building in the very near future. Finally, Nadeau's recent meeting with the Rossburn Trail Division Association discussed the installation of a new trail kiosk in Sandy Lake that highlights the history and heritage of the community. Nadeau suggested that could be an idea Neepawa could look into for their section of the trail. Next, Councillor Yvonne Sisley provided an update on the recent handy van usage. In June, there were 403 rides. Meanwhile, a Canada Day fundraising barbecue for the service was able to raise $1,025. Sisley thanked the Neepawa Gladstone Co-op for providing all the supplies for the barbecue, ensuring its success. She noted that Handy Van has decided to implement a cancellation policy for their bus. It will be a required 24-hour notice moving ahead. There will be a fee of $100 if someone does cancel within hours of a scheduled trip. In relation to the Canada Day festivities for the town of Neepawa, Sisley reported that the response was favorable, and she thanked all the volunteers and the employees of the rec department who participated in making the event a success. A barbecue that had been planned for Canada, which was rained out, has been rescheduled for August the 1st from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Riverbend Park. Next, Councillor Murray Parrott noted during recent rainstorms he had the opportunity to drive through town looking to see if there were any notable drainage issues occurring. He cited one location on the north end of town that had been a concern. He did report back seeing residents working together to ensure there were no clogging issues in that particular spot. He thanked those residents for the effort they put forward. And next, lastly, Councillor Darrell Gerard offered an insight into a recent meeting of the Finance Committee. He noted it was just to review the financial state of some of the large local projects that are currently on the go. Then the Manager of Operations, Denny Sagway, notified Mayor and Council on recent advancements for the Lagoon Project, Phase 2. He reported the main structure has been completed. As well, the Park Lake project is moving along nicely with clay harvesting happening right now. Installation of basketball courts at Crocus have been completed. An inquiry was made related to planned road repairs along the southern limits of First Avenue and Mountain. Sagway reported that profile paving are in town and are starting to do some patchwork. He told residents in those areas to be cautious and understand that there will be some disruptions as they prep those sections before they start paving. Mobile home licensing fee set to increase by Owen Devereaux. Mobile home owners in Neepawa will see an increase to their licensing fees in 2024, though the percentage of change sounds a lot more dramatic than it actually is. For next year, the annual license fee in Neepawa will increase by 9.47%. While this does seem like a large one-time jump to the fee structure, the actual average cost per month will be between $5.66 and $8.36, depending on the age and the square footage of the home. CAO Colleen Sensation noted that the town of Neepawa has worked hard to hold the fee steady over the past few years, so this year's jump is catching up to the true year-over-year averages. We're recommending what the levy increase of 9.47% in comparison to last year, which was 0.64%. And if you look at it, just for interest's sake, over the last 5 years and equate it out, this averages out to a 2% increase per year. Even though 9.47 looks like a big increase, it is not when you look at the last 5 years, said Sensation. The license fee is the amount collected instead of municipal and school taxes. It is the mobile home owner's contribution to town services, which parallels the property taxes collected on other homes. The annual fee to be charged will change by the percentage increase or decrease of the municipal and school tax budgeted revenue. The age and square footage of the mobile home is also a factor. Next, we have a celebration of Canadian culture then and now by Casper Werhan. The Manitoba Agricultural Museum kicked off its 67th Threshermen's Reunion and Stampede on July 27th. This event is held annually at the museum grounds near Austin, Manitoba, and is Canada's largest farm heritage festival. This year's festival stretches until July the 30th and is host to the International Cockshut Collectors Summer Exhibition, Pioneer Village demonstrations, CFRY Pioneer Power Parade, the Manitoba Clydesdale Classic, Reunion Ladies Activities Fashion Show, Route 34 Classic Car Show, and much more. Also included are a variety of children's activities ensuring fun for those of all ages. Every year, over 11,000 annual visitors attend this iconic summer festival to experience what life was like in historic rural Manitoba, said Angie Klim, president of the Manitoba Agricultural Museum. With over 100 acres of experiences and exhibits to enjoy, there is something for everyone in the family. This will be the International Cockshut Collectors Organization's inaugural show in Western Canada. The organization preserves the legacy of Canada's iconic farm equipment manufacturer, which built machinery specifically suited for those in the prairies from the 1870s to the 1960s. The end of this year's festival is also being headlined with a special concert from Rosemary Siemens, world-renowned violinist and vocalist, on July the 30th. Ed Hepner, who has been working alongside the museum as a representative of the Mobile Stage Company, said he hopes this highlight provides an extra hook. We're anticipating a good crowd. As well, we're hoping to draw in extra people that may not have come to the location otherwise, so that they can see what the museum has to offer, Hepner enthused. He also added, it's very beneficial for us to have the Threshermen's Reunion in our municipality. It draws people in from all over the world, almost. And the culture of our country is important to celebrate. Not just what we had, but what we want it to be, to create a culture and inject it with positive things as we move forward. The 2023 reunion also coincides with the addition of a brand new exhibit known as the Greeky Collection. After approximately 2 years of discussion, the exhibit arrived last week and is now on display outdoors until the end of July. Items in this collection include 24 Massey Harris and Massey Ferguson combines built from 1944 to 1988. One highlight from this collection is a 1944 Massey Harris 21A, a machine originating from the 1944 Harvest Brigade. The Brigade was a program originating in the United States in which materials were made available to Massey Harris in order to build 500 combines operating as a team to harvest that year from Texas to Canada. This was to alleviate wartime concerns over food shortages at home, as many working age men were serving overseas. For additional information about the 67th Annual Reunion and Stampede, visit the festival website at mbagmuseum.ca/Reunion Stampede. Now we have a couple of pages from the Farmer's Advocate. The first one, Harvesting Annual Forage Crops by Sean Kabak, Manitoba Agriculture. Annual forage crops being grown for green feed or silage will be getting close to the optimal stage of maturity for harvest. Hay yields are lower than last year when there was a bumper crop across much of the province, and pastures are being grazed down where rainfall is lacking. Annual crops harvested on a timely basis make excellent quality feed and can be harvested as a green feed, chopped silage, or as baled silage. Advantages of harvesting feed as silage is ensiling will lower nitrate levels if they are present. Field losses are smaller, and silage harvest is less weather dependent. Timing of cutting green feed or silage is a factor in feed quality and yield. The optimal time of harvesting most cereals, like barley and triticale, for green feed or silage is in the soft dough stage. Oats should be cut in the milk stage, and millet or sorghum can be cut after heading. At this stage, quality and yield is maximized. Peas can be cut at pod wrinkle or if in a mixture with a cereal harvest according to the earlier crop. Work done at the University of Saskatchewan has shown harvesting at a more mature stage will increase the overall feed production value compared to less mature stages at harvest. The MCVET annual forage trials were started up in 2001, and this year has 5 sites across the province, including Melita, Roblin, Arberg, Carberry, and Carman. The objectives of this program is to test different varieties of annual crops for forage yield and quality across Manitoba. The trials are supported by the Manitoba Beef Producers, Manitoba Seed Growers Association, the Crop Diversification Centers, the University of Manitoba, and the Manitoba Crop Variety Evaluation Team. Look for the yield and feed quality information in Seed Manitoba 2024 in late November. The next one, Grain Growers of Canada welcome Kyle Larkin as new Executive Director. The Grain Growers of Canada, or GGC, are pleased to welcome Kyle Larkin as its Executive Director. Larkin brings extensive advocacy, political, and association experience to the organization and is poised to elevate the discussion around relevant policy issues at a national level. GGC believes Larkin is the ideal leader to navigate the shifting political and regulatory climate. His appointment comes at a critical juncture as the Canadian grains sector faces a rapidly evolving political and regulatory landscape. Kyle is the right person to help us seize those opportunities, says Andre Harp, GGC Chair. His track record of driving impactful results, as well as his impressive experience in politics and strategic direction, will further strengthen GGC's position as a leader in the industry. With a decade-long background in government relations, public relations, and politics, Larkin has consistently achieved impressive results. His expertise lies in developing and executing public affairs strategies for national and provincial organizations. Throughout his career, Larkin has earned recognition from media publications such as the Globe and Mail, National Post, CBC, BBC, and the Hill Times. Additionally, he has been honored with the 2019 Government Relations Campaign of the Year by the Canadian Public Relations Society and the 2022 Canadian Society of Association Executives Award of Distinction for his work advancing climate change objectives. I am honored to build on GGC's legacy of leadership in Canada's grain sector. Together with our members across the country, I look forward to advocating for the priorities of grain farmers and further unlocking the sector's full potential, states Larkin. As the collective voice of over 65,000 grain farmers, my focus is expanding our presence on Parliament Hill, growing our national membership, and enhancing our responsiveness to current and emerging issues. Prior to joining the GGC, Larkin served as Vice President at Impact Public Affairs, a national full-service public affairs firm. Prior to this, he held key positions in various offices on Parliament Hill, including with the Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister. Larkin's arrival marks an exciting transition for GGC as he replaces Interim Executive Director Tyler Bjornson. GGC extends its gratitude to Bjornson for his valuable contributions during his time with the organization. Now here we have a neat picture. A sea of gold on the Kuchar farm. This drone photo, taken July 19th, 2023, shows the Leonard Kuchar homestead. The canola was planted May 27th, 2023 by Zidane Farms, Curtis and Tanis, who rent the land. The canola stands 5 feet 10 inches to 6 feet tall. I have heard that the canola this year is like one of the tallest crops ever. And the last one on this page is Canadian Cattle Markets by Sean Kabak. CanFax is reporting deferred cattle sales for the fall based off of internet and satellite sales of over $4 per pound. Steer calves in BC weighing 400 pounds were priced at $4.50 a pound for October delivery, while Alberta steers weighing 470 pounds reached $4.25 a pound for October. Alberta steers weighing 631 pounds for November delivery hit $3.80 a pound. Yearling steers in Alberta at 850 pounds are projected to sell for $3.17 to $3.26 per pound, based on U.S. feeder futures around $2.47, a Canadian dollar at 76 cents, and a basis ranging from 8 to plus 2 cents per pound. Alberta/Saskatchewan cattle on the feed inventories continue to seasonally decline and continue to run below last year. July 1st cattle on feed inventories are 8% lower than last year and is the smallest July 1st inventory since 2019. Following consecutive months of lower feedlot placements, market-ready fed cattle supplies have tightened, resulting in a historically strong summer fed market. In addition to running reduced hours in June, Western Canadian packers also put more hours toward cow slaughter, which was 4% higher than last year. Fed cattle marketings were 20% lower than last year and is the smallest June marketing volume since 2013. Ooh, now we have a whole bunch of pictures on this page. From the field to the table at Camo Cattle. Visitors were treated to tours of the Camo Cattle farming operations this week. This stop was part of the Manitoba Angus Association summer tour. Neepawa banner and press photographer Christine Waddell was on the scene taking in the sights for herself. While out in the field, pun intended, Waddell captured a particular sequence of operations. First, the genetics pictured here, then the results, and lastly the test. And a tasty looking test at that. Next, home goods and fun at the Riverbend Makers Market. The Riverbend Makers Market kicked off in Neepawa last weekend. A variety of vendors with an assortment of home goods were available for perusal. Pictured here is artist Melissa Perieski face painting Emily Fills at the Makers Market on July 21st. And here we have curious patrons scanning the assortment of booths and moving in to take a closer look. So there was lots to do there. A bright display at Lily Days. These colorful potted lilies were available for sale during the Lily Days event on Saturday, July 22nd. Visitors were also welcome to view the gardens and growing fields. Now for sports, just 2 sports pages. Neepawa Cubs / Plumas Pirates series tied. The Plumas Pirates lived to play another day, beating Neepawa 9-6 to even their best of series 3 series at 1-1. MVP finalist Zach Yando returned to the mound for the first time this year in dramatic fashion. Fighting a leg injury, he managed to help Plumas get that do-or-die win. For Neepawa, Garrett Rempel took the loss on a night where the Cubs would kick the ball around a little too much. For Game 1 in Plumas on Friday, July 21st, Shane Fraze picked up the win, throwing a complete game for the Cubs. Plumas starter Riley McBride was tagged with 5 runs in the first, then gave way to Rylan Dembo and Nathan Braun. Zach Yando homered for Plumas. For Neepawa, Jordan Wickens ripped a 2-run single, and Craig Casto was 3-4 for the Cubs. Game 3 goes Wednesday night in Plumas at 7 p.m. Here we have a few pictures with 15 runs scored in total. The action at home plate was intense throughout the game. Look at this. And here we have Garrett Rempel, number 8, crossing home plate, scoring a run for the Cubs. And here we have Ryan Single standing at the plate waiting for a pitch during the Plumas 9-6 win over Neepawa. Game 3 was scheduled for Wednesday, July 26th in Plumas, which is after the Neepawa Banner Press print schedule, and those results will appear in the August 4th edition. Mavericks stun Carberry, sweep Santa Clara semifinal. Say it isn't so. The 6th seed Manitoba Mavericks just swept the top-seeded Carberry Royals with a 7-4 win on Monday, July 24th, in front of a huge crowd to win the series 2-0. And advanced to the Santa Clara Baseball League Finals. Minnedosa's Lou Guggen threw 6 2/3 innings to get the win. The Mavericks would chase 1 run across in the opening inning on a rare drop ball to center field. Carberry and Minnedosa would exchange runs in the second, and Carberry scoring singles in the 3rd and 4th innings to grab a 3-2 lead. The 5th inning is where the Mavericks would create some magic. Andrew Richards and John Hutton led off with back-to-back singles. Victor Lamb would get a bunt single to load the bases. Josh McInnes would hit a grounder to short. but a throwing error home would score 2 runs and move runners up to second and third. Big Carter Headley would single up the middle and score 2 more runs. Headley would end up on the third and later score on a passed ball to take a 7-3 lead after 5 innings. Carberry would threaten in the 7th. After scoring 1 with 2 outs and the tying run at first base, Lyndon Zimmer would strike out Jared Bridges to end the game. Corey Billart was the losing pitcher who threw well in the complete game effort. He was also Carberry's top hitter at the plate, going 2-2 with 2 RBIs, scoring a run and drawing a walk. That's 4 wins in 12 days for the Mavericks, who had only won 4 games all season long. Carberry dropped their second in a row after an impressive 10-game winning streak. See, you just never know. Dolphins swam hard in Winkler. On Sunday, July 23rd, the Neepawa Blue Dolphin swimmers rose in the early morning to make their way to Winkler and compete against approximately 7 other communities. The Dolphins were without head coach Claire Beaumont, but Cassidy Smith rose to the occasion and stepped in to look after the younger swimmers. Next up for the Dolphins was their home meet on Saturday, July 24th. First swimmers hit the water at 9 a.m. Results will appear in future edition of the Banner and Press. If you would like to check out other interesting information, then go to www.swimmanitoba.mb.ca/summer-meet-results. And here we have pictures of lifeguards. This is at McCreary. 6 lifeguards at McCreary. Anyways, fiscal prudence leads to positive overall net income. The 2022-23 MPI annual report submitted by Manitoba Public Insurance. Manitoba Public Insurance, or MPI, remains in a strong financial position to provide stable and affordable insurance rates to customers as reflected in the corporation's 2022/23 annual report released today. MPI is pleased to have ended its 2022/23 fiscal year with a positive overall net income of $4.2 million as of March 31st, 2023, said MPI's board chair Ward Keith. The positive financial results were achieved despite inflationary pressures that impacted both claim costs and corporate expenses, and reflect the strength and effective management of the corporation's lines of business, including an overall basic insurance rate decrease of nearly 6.6% for the 22-23 insurance year, made up of a 1.6% overall rate reduction in addition to another 5% premium discount. The total number of autopack claims in 2022-23 rose by 2.1% compared to the previous year. The corporation's total claims costs for the year were $1.2 billion, an increase of $164.6 million compared to the previous year. The ongoing impact of rising inflation on the cost of claims was a major contributor to the increase. The corporation's capital management plan continues to protect Manitobans by ensuring MPI is properly capitalized at or above legislated targets for each line of business. The Manitoba Public Insurance Corporation Act sets out the corporation's capital targets expressed as a minimum capital test, or MCT percentage. Basic at 100%, extension at 200%, and special risk extension at 300%. As of March 31st, 2023, MPI's basic MCT was 111%, Extension MCT was 202%, and SRE MCT was 386%. The corporation's focus remains on fiscal prudence to maintain and control costs, which ultimately contributes to lower vehicle insurance rates for Manitobans. I also want to recognize the commitment of MPI's current executive team and the hard work and dedication of all MPI employees who strive to provide exceptional service and value to Manitobans throughout the public insurance program. So these are key numbers from this year. Average number of AutoPAC claims reported per working day is 1,065. Total AutoPAC claims reported, 264,102. Third-party liability, bodily injury, and personal injury protection plan injury claims reported, 12,185. Property damage claims reported, 251,917. And the average number of AutoPAC policies in force are 1,252,465. Okay. Here's a cute picture of two little girls. It's entitled Ain't No Farm Without Kittens. No farm is complete without kittens and kids. Cousins Hannah and Casey show off 2 of 14 sweet fluff balls at the Camo Cattle Company farm on Tuesday. The girls were taking a break from their duties at the registration table for the Manitoba Angus Association summer tour to cuddle the kittens. Ah, cute. And here are Neepawa's chess champions. The Neepawa Chess Tournament, held on July 22nd at the Neepawa Rifle Range, has declared its victors. The tournament was organized by Junix Mallory and Phil Can of Neepawa and area. Winners in the adult tournament were Gustav Barron, champion, Brody Fair came in first, and Marcus Valentino came in second. Winners in the kids tournament were James Kyle Merchant was the champion, Puny Rayleigh came in first, and Zach Lee came in second. Stride Credit Union demonstrates unwavering support by donating to local fire departments. Submitted by Stride Credit Union. Portage La Prairie, July 21st, 2023. In times of tragedy, the profound impact on a community is felt by all. As a community-focused organization, Stride Credit Union recognizes the significance of supporting those who selflessly sacrifice to ensure the safety of others. In a heartfelt expression of gratitude and admiration for their unwavering dedication, Stride Credit Union recently made a series of donations to 5 fire departments in the region, totaling $9,000. The exceptional courage and selflessness of first responders, as well as their commitment to safeguarding our communities in the face of adversity, serves as an inspiration to all. The significance of local fire departments is particularly evident in rural areas where access to emergency services may be limited. In these regions, volunteer fire departments play a vital role in ensuring the safety and well-being of the community. The committed volunteers who make up these fire departments selflessly dedicate their time and efforts to protect their neighbors, forging a strong bond between the departments and the people they serve. Stride Credit Union has always upheld the belief in the power of community collaboration and actively supports local initiatives and organizations that contribute to the well-being and growth of the community. This donation represents just one of the many ways the credit union strives to make a positive impact on the lives of the people it serves. We are pleased to announce that the Gladstone, Plumas, Neepawa, Carberry, and Brandon fire departments were the deserving recipients of these contributions. The funds donated will be utilized to acquire essential equipment, enhance safety gear, and support ongoing training and wellness programs for the dedicated firefighters. In extending our support to these fire departments, Stride Credit Union reaffirms its commitment to standing alongside the brave men and women who safeguard our communities day in and day out. Together, we can continue to build a safer and stronger community for everyone. In addition to supporting the fire departments, we are pleased to announce the inaugural Stride Credit Union Golf Tournament, with this year's recipient being Stars Air Ambulance. We recognize the impact this service has on our communities and our province as a whole, and are pleased to be able to support them through a fundraising golf tournament. This tournament will take place this year at the beautiful Neepawa Golf and Country Club on Thursday, September 14th. We have sponsorship opportunities available and can accommodate a few more golfers. If you are interested in getting involved, please email golftournament@stridecu.ca or call Stacy at 204-856-2729. And there is a picture of Stride Credit Union representative giving a check for $1,500 to the Neepawa Fire Department. Right there. Okay, so we'll go back. All right, Homebodies by Rita Friesen. This week it's entitled For the Love of Family. A wonderful rare occurrence, 2 of my adult children home at the same time. It was a time to revert to the customs of their childhoods. First, because it was a hot day, we had watermelon and roll kuchen for supper. Respecting the statements of my grandchildren that Auntie Rilla made better roll kuchen than I do, Rilla consented to make the deep-fried delights. Again, because it was a hot day, we set up a table and chairs in the backyard under the old apple tree. More grandchildren and a great-grandchild joined us, and we were well entertained by the youngest member of our family. The toddler is speaking and very active, engaging with her uncle in a game of catch, leading her daddy to the raspberry bushes and grazing the pea patch before helping great-grand water the back garden. This involved the removal of her little shoes and giving them a wash. They were dirty, and then generously soaking herself and the grass rather than the raspberries. Too cute. Second custom fulfilled was the baking of pies, 1 Saskatoon and 2 apple. Fortunately, there is vanilla ice cream in the freezer, for that is the completion of that food presentation. There will be a supper with farmer sausage, garden potatoes, and green beans. I don't expect there to be leftovers. We got in some table games. With the kids being trained to be gracious and kind to seniors, I roasted them in a game of Scrabble and then walked away with cribbage. Not certain if they will choose a game for our last evening together. They may choose to have a fire in the fire pit and roast marshmallows. Our custom was for huge bonfires with sparks dancing high in the night sky, but we can adapt, so the fire pit will suffice. I sit and listen a lot. They both love movies, games with which I am not familiar, and current electronic advances. See why I sit and listen? But the shared laughter and exchange of ideas thrills my heart. We are all thinkers and like words. We have played word games, working together for the best possible score, and again, it is the time and laughter shared that I will hold long after they return to their homes. Summertime is often family time. It is easier to travel to spend time together. It is easier to spend time outside, doing things, seeing things, to be part of a larger unit. As the conversation flows from topic to topic, childhood memories surface. The family holidays we shared, to the mountains, to the lake shore, to prairie campgrounds, have built a solid network for storytelling. Hearing their memories is enlightening, for the common little things I took so for granted made an impact in a positive way. We concur that tobogganing can be life-threatening, that climbing mountains better be with permission, and canoeing in the rain does leave a memory we can laugh about. This week, without leaving my home, I have been across Canada and all over Manitoba. I have been blessed with family time. Next, we have Neil Stroshine, Faithfully Yours. This week it's entitled Never Too Old. Many years ago, I heard a minister speak of a second calling he received just as he was preparing to retire. I felt strongly, he said, that God was calling me to an itinerant ministry of spiritual renewal and revival in local churches. I heard the call, he continued, and then I told God that he had the wrong person. I had spent my life as a pastor. I was worn out. This was a job for younger people. I was too old for a ministry like this. Then he said, as certainly as I know that I am standing here sharing these words, I heard God say, Moses was 80 when I called him. I recall this minister's story whenever I find myself saying, I'm getting too old for this, whatever this might happen to be. And in recent days, I have learned much from reflecting on the life of this man who gave God's laws to ancient Israel. Moses' life can be divided into 3 parts. Each lasted 40 years. Part 1 was spent in the land of Egypt. As the adopted son of Pharaoh's daughter, Moses was being trained for his life's work as king of Egypt and high priest of the Egyptian religion. He was being taught how to think and act like a god because that is how he would be treated. Then, at the age of 40, Moses felt called to turn his back on all the privileges and training he had received as king in waiting and lead his people, the Israelites, to the land God had promised them. His first attempts at saving his people were a colossal failure, and Moses had to flee for his life. He got as far away from Egypt as he could, got a job working for a Midianite priest named Jethro, and started his second career, being chief shepherd to a flock of 20 to 30 sheep. He would do this for the next 40 years. Then God spoke to Moses, now 80 years old, once again, calling him to go back to Egypt and lead his people to freedom. This time his efforts were successful. The Israelites far out of Egypt, but due to their rebellion against God, a journey that should have taken 40 days took 40 years. And sadly, due to his own sin, Moses himself was excluded from the promised land. He died just days before his people entered it. If Moses could speak to us today, I think he would tell us that no one is ever too old to learn something new or to find new ways of serving God and the human family. Shortly after leaving my last full-time pastorate, a wise counselor gave me the following advice. Neil, he said, you're no longer their minister, but you will always be their pastor. Your job, for as long as you live, will be to pray for these people, greet them with respect whenever you see them, love them, and encourage them in their walk of faith. God will open doors for you to do this, some of which will surprise and even shock you. Those words have proven to be very true. Like Moses, I believe that my best days are still to come. I don't know how many there will be, but I plan to use them as God directs, even if that means I have to learn new ways of serving God and the human family. Moses wasn't too old to learn something new. Neither am I, and neither are you. And we have a thumbs up, thumbs down. This week it's a thumbs up. Was in town on Thursday, July 27th for a small reunion and took a tour of our hometown cemetery. Thumbs up to all the work that has been done. It looks great. From Cam and Kathy Smith of Winnipeg. Okay, we have an article by Ken Waddell right in the center. This week it's entitled, "The Government Should Be Embarrassed." Disclaimer, the views expressed in this column are the writer's personal views and are not to be taken as being the view of the Banner and Press staff. In preparation for last week's column, where I challenged Manitoba transportation and infrastructure about highway speeds in our towns, I was forced through a convoluted and complicated process. The process the government has set up is made complicated to discourage questions. But here's how it all came down. I phoned Highways, and the very nice person on the phone took my message where I was asking to speak to one of the two head people at Highways in the Brandon Regional Office. No response for several days. So I phoned again and talked to the nice person, but was advised that I would have to talk to a media engagement specialist. I let the person know on the other end of the line that I didn't want to speak to a media engagement specialist. I wanted to talk to the people who knew what was going on and asked that the message be passed on to the people in charge at Brandon. I knew it wouldn't do any good, but I felt better for trying. So after about 5 days from my original request, I got an email advising me that I would get faster answers if I sent my questions by email to the media engagement specialist. And I could not quote media engagement specialist number 1. I was told it was too late on Friday to get an answer, and I said that was fine. Monday or Tuesday would be good. Media engagement specialist number 1 agreed. The answer came at 10 a.m. Wednesday, so only a half a day after the answer was promised. So that wasn't too bad, but it was too late to make it into last week's paper. The answers came from media engagement specialist number 2, and no, I couldn't quote them either. You can't talk to staff, and you can't quote media engagement specialist 1 or 2. Here's the questions in bold-faced type and a short version of the answers. And while they said a map would be attached, there was no map. They say they were made aware of the construction project that will complicate the study on July 17th. The map came later, but at print deadline, I still haven't been informed as to what the construction project is. The first question. The town of Neepawa, as I understand it, is the traffic control authority within the boundaries of the town of Neepawa. Is that correct? Manitoba Transportation and Infrastructure is the traffic authority for much of the provincial highway networks as shown on the attached map. The town of Neepawa is the traffic authority and can set speed limits on municipal roads and some PTH and PR roads within their jurisdiction. The next question. If that is correct, why does the town of Neepawa need approval from Transportation and Infrastructure to lower the speed zones? Answer. Speed limits on the declared sections of PTHs and PRs are established by regulation. The last question. If that is not correct, what is the status of the application for speed reduction on the stretch of highway on Highway 16 from Broadway to the east boundary of the town of Neepawa? Answer. Manitoba Transportation and Infrastructure remains committed to a further review of the speed limit on PTH 16 east of the south junction of PTH 5 and has engaged an engineering consultant to complete this work. It was brought to the department's attention July 17th that there is a construction project occurring on PTH 16 east of the town of Neepawa, which may complicate the data gathering process of the speed limit review. However, MTI is working with the project manager of this construction project to mitigate the concerns. Given these circumstances, MTI has revised the target to have a complete response in late August of 2023. I am still waiting for an explanation about a construction project. Okay, the last thing I'll do is going back to our years in Neepawa. Going back 125 years ago, July 23rd, 1898, and this was in the Neepawa Banner and Press. Ben Hay has arrived from Shoal Lake and secured a position with William Priestley. Now that our football club has acquired his services, and on the arrival of Wes Hewitt and C. St. John from the east, it may be assumed that Neepawa Football Club will prove to be the strongest combination outside of Winnipeg. Wow. 125 years ago. 100 years ago, July 24th, 1923, about 400 people attended the SOE picnic at Butillier's farm on Thursday last week, and the general verdict of all is that it was the real thing in that line. Everybody sociable. The SOE officers' desire to acknowledge the generosity of those who gave free use of their motor cars. Also, the citizens' band for supplying music, which was much appreciated. 75 years ago in 1948, fire completely demolished the station house and freight sheds at Hullborough Siding last Sunday evening. The alarm was given by a passing tourist, and the Neepawa Fire Brigade went out immediately to give assistance. The agent, Mr. J. Godin, and his family were away, but furniture from the living quarters and a quantity of equipment was removed by firemen and helpers. It is not known how the fire started, but flames from the freight shed spread rapidly, and firemen remained all night to keep the flames under control. The funeral service for Thomas Scott, one of the pioneers of the Rosedale municipality, was held in the United Church in Riding Mountain on Wednesday, July 14th at 2 o'clock. Mr. Scott came to Manitoba in 1906 and took up farming in the Riding Mountain district. On August 30th, 1945, he moved to town where he resided until his death. 50 years ago, in 1973, the measles epidemic in Manitoba has spread to the rural areas, and the majority of the 151 cases reported in the first 2 weeks of this month have occurred outside the city, Health and Social Development Minister Renee Toupin reports. The new Lutheran Church in Neepawa has become an officially organized congregation with the name Christ Memorial Lutheran Church, Missouri Synod. Susan Walker, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Walker of Neepawa, graduated from St. Boniface School of Nursing on July the 6th. She is presently employed in the emergency department at the St. Boniface General Hospital. And lastly, 20 years ago, July 28th, 2003, Neepawa's already battered economy took another hit Friday when Spring Hill Farms hog processing plant closed its doors. The hog processor, which laid off almost 300 people in June, had kept on a skeletal crew of 120. Those people have also received their walking papers, but Spring Hill manager Bill Tycrow said he still hopes arrangement can be made for the plant to reopen. Also, Neepawa's 7th annual Lily Festival got underway last Thursday, appropriately enough with a lily doing the opening honors. According to the Lily Festival numbers, 1,005 people purchased day passes. A membership which provided access to all 4 days' events was $10, while a day pass was $5. So there we have it. That is the reading of today's Neepawa Banner and Press. So maybe we'll see you again next time. So bye for now.